Hi everyone, I'm going to give you a brief tutorial on models and migrations in Django. Alright, so let's get started on the models side of things. So you can see here I have 4 different models. Each of these models are going to represent a table within my database, and there's actually going to be a 5th table here because I have a many-to-many field, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Alright, so to start things off, each of the models have a subclass of models.model. They all have attributes. So in this case, I have a blog model with an attribute of thumbnail, group, author, title, body, and date. And each of these are going to be fields within my database. Each of those model attributes contain field types and field options. So in this case, I have a author, which is a char field with a max length of 250 characters, and it can be null in the database. That's what null equal true means. Something to consider. Sometimes when you're adding new fields to a model, you'll get an error when you try to make migrations that says, hey, we don't have any information for this field, and it can't be null. Sometimes you'll have to add that null true attribute to that field that you're trying to add. All right, the most common simple field types that we use are char field, text field, integer field, float field, date field, image field, and some of the relationship fields. But yeah, that's the gist of that. We need to make sure that we are using the correct fields in the case by case. So we shouldn't be using integer fields where we can use, or we shouldn't be using char fields, where we can use integer fields. We shouldn't be using integer fields for numbers with decimals. We should be using float fields for that. And yeah, so the relationships within models can be a little bit tricky, but they're pretty straightforward. One-to-many is represented by a foreign key. So here I have a blog, and I can have many blog categories associated with one blog. So that is our one-to-many relationship between blog and blog category. And essentially what I would have to do is create a new blog category instance for each of, or a new blog category instance for each of the categories that I want associated with this blog. We also have a many-to-many field here. You can see this relates to blog type. So I can have many blog types associated with this, and many blogs associated with blog type. And I call that group in the database. And because it's a many-to-many field, what it will do is it will essentially create a table with 2 fields, the ID of the blog type and the ID of the blog. Well, actually 3 fields because they also have IDs associated with them. And the next thing is a one-to-one, which is as it sounds. One-to-one with a blog thumbnail for this blog. I only need one blog thumbnail, but I want it separated off. So we'll have a blog thumbnail model that's associated with blog, but in a different table. All right, then the image fields, they're how Django handles images that are associated with the models that we have. What an image field does is it actually stores the one of the things it does is it stores the file path that you upload it to, and that's actually changeable by adding an option here. I could say upload to whatever directory I want. By default, it goes to wherever your media root setting is pointed in your settings.py. It also takes upload or height field and width field. Those are the fields that should be auto-populated with the height and width of the image. And it also requires the pillow library. So for this to work, you would have to do a pip install pillow. All right, so now let's jump into the migration side of things. So migrations propagate changes in your models into your database. They're automatic when they're used correctly. Migrations can be pretty frustrating when you work with a large team and you don't have consistent migrations. But yeah, let me go ahead and show you how they work. So here inside of my terminal, I will go ahead and type. And what this is going to do is it's going to add a um, migrations file to my, or a .py file with a migrations procedure in it to my in this case, I created the first migration for this app, so it's called 001 initial. And you can see I've created all of these models within this .py file, and you can actually hard code these operations, but they should be mostly automatic. You shouldn't be doing that regularly. All right, and now that I've created this migration, I can run Python migrate, and those will apply this. That will apply this migration to my database. All right, so take a look at that here. You can see I have my blog object, my blog category, my blog group, my blog thumbnail, and my blog type. And yet each of those are the fields that I have created my models.py here. So yeah, that's the gist of how the migrations work. Now I'm going to get into the workflow. I said earlier it can be frustrating working with large team members. So here's sort of the Git workflow that we put together. If I add a field to the blog model, for example, author, I've already added that, but for example, I will add that field. I'll pull from master and make sure I don't have to migrate anything. And then I'll run my make migrations command. And then I will run the python manage.py migrate command and verify that the migration does what it needs to do. I will then push those migrations up to the master branch, the migrations specifically, nothing else, because if I'm working on something I don't want that pushed up to the master branch. But that way, everyone else can have the migrations that I'm working with, and I can have everyone else's migrations when I pull. But yeah, that is our workflow, and that is the basics of models and migrations in Django. Hope you enjoyed this little training.